Well, I'm here. Did you decide?
Yes, I have.
Took you long enough. What did you choose?
Your name is now Arashi. Do you like it?
Yeah, it's fine. What made you choose that name?
I chose that name because of the meaning. While the meaning can vary depending on the Inazuma characters used, I chose it for the meaning New Heart.
Why that meaning? I don't even have a heart.
Sure you do. It might not be flesh and bone, but I'm sure you have a core to access your heart. Besides, think about it. You still have emotions, passions, and free will, like a human. So I'd say you have a heart, and I wanted you to remember that. While you're journeying out there on your own or helping Nahida, that you're a new person. You've been given a new start, and your past is behind you. Of course, what you do with your new heart is up to you, but I know that you have the potential to be a kind and caring person, and I hope that you use this new start to become just that. Again, I wanted you to remember this no matter where you go, so that's why I chose that name. As time goes on, your heart won't technically be new anymore, but you can always look back and see what you made of the new start you were given. So please, carry this name with purpose, Arashi. Also, don't go causing any trouble for Nahida, or I'll have to come set you straight. Understand?
Yes, I understand. You won't have to worry about me.
Good, thank you. Now, go set off on that journey with your new heart. Treat it well now.
Sure, I will. Thank you, traveler. Hello everyone, I hope you enjoyed that comic. I like how it turned out and I had fun making it. If you did enjoy this comic, please do give this video a like and subscribe if you haven't already. Now I'm going to kind of go a little bit to the detail of my naming process, I guess you could say. I just like to ramble about these kind of things, so if you want to listen, you can listen. If not, that's okay too, but I'm going to go ahead and tell you how I decide on this name. So, for those who may not know, after the Sumeru quest, there's an interlude quest where the Balladeer, or now Wanderer, kind of goes through like a reform stage and you get to give him a name. I'm not going to go into it all because I don't want to spoil it and I'd be here all day, but basically, before he was even released, I saw like a leak or something on Twitter that you're going to be able to name him and give him a new name. This was probably like, I would say it felt like about a month before he released, but it might have only been like a couple of weeks. And I was like, Hoyoverse, you know it's gonna take me months to find a perfect name. I started panicking because I will take that long to find a perfect name. So I'm like, well, I better start now before he even releases because I'm gonna want to do the next story quest and I'm gonna need a name, like, you know, before I complete it. So I started looking for a name. I kind of panicked a bit because I didn't even know where I wanted to start, basically. Like, what meaning do I want this name to have? What culture do I want it to be from? Like, just like what kind of name do I want to give him? So now keep in mind that the story hadn't been released yet, so I didn't know how this naming process went down. But I thought, what if I was like, Nahida was giving him the name? Like, what kind of name would Nahida give him? That's who I was kind of thinking, because after you defeat him in Sumeru, I guess he kind of takes a bit of a beating, and you know, you defeat him, and Nahida's the one that's kind of like nursing him back to health, so to speak, and watching him, because since he was defeated and he'd probably be deemed weak by the Fatui, they ain't gonna take him back, and so he's kind of just on his own now. She was the one that was kind of watching over him, and so I thought, what if Nahida was to be the one who's like surprising him with the gift of a name? What name would she choose? So I was thinking maybe we go for like a Sumeru name, since that's where he's getting his new start, is in Sumeru. But yeah, so I ended up scouring for the internet for like Persian names, because I feel like Sumeru kind of has their names kind of seem to be very Persian sounding from what I gathered when I was scouring the internet for these names. So I looked at Persian names and Arabic names, Indian names, Hindu names, Muslim names. I looked at all the names, and I was trying to find something that meant something along the lines of being free, being made free, just freedom, or something that meant being made new or a new person, because I felt like that would be the kind of meaning that Nahida would choose. And I also wanted to be a name that I liked the sound of. So I liked the sound of it, had the meaning that I wanted, or something along the lines of those kind of meanings, and that I felt fit the Wanderer. Like, by fit, I mean, you know, when you like look at a pet or something, you're like naming the pet, and you're like, you know, you look like Frederick, like that's kind of what I mean. I wanted him to like look like the name, you know what I mean. I wanted it to fit. So I wanted the name to fit, and for me to like the sound, and for it to have one of these meanings. So I scoured the internet, and I found some names that had like either the meaning I wanted, but I didn't really like the name or how it sounded, or I didn't think it fit Wanderer specifically. So I scoured and I scoured, and eventually I'm like, you know what? Let's just do a Japanese name. I mean, Nahida is the Archon of Wisdom, and she's very knowledgeable. She probably knows Inazuma names and like how they work, because you know it's a Japanese name, which Inazuma is based off of, you know, Japan. It depends on the kanji you use, what kanji you use, on what meaning the name will have. And well, if you didn't know, that the Wanderer was originally from Inazuma, so that's why I'm like, I'm gonna go back to the Japanese name. Before, like I said, I'm like, he's getting his new start at Sumeru. It'd be kind of cool to give him a more like Persian name, but I couldn't find one I liked, so I ended up going to this website I like to use for Japanese names, because it seems very Japanese. It gives you the name, and it'll give you all the different like kanji variations, and that's what I really like about it. The thing about this site though is it's huge. There's so many names to go through. So I started my search on this website by like letter, because like the letters I tend to gravitate towards when it comes to Japanese names, like what letters I like the names to start with. I started with A, and that's where I found the name Arashi, and it meant, well, it could mean, depending on kanji used, new heart. It could also mean, you know, storm if you use a different kanji. I think it was like the same kanji for the word storm, but it could mean new heart. And so I'm like, perfect, it's a cute name, I like how it sounds, and it means new heart, and I mean I suppose it fits him. But just to be safe, with me knowing how I like to choose the perfect name, I'm gonna keep looking just a little bit. So I ended up looking under like K's, because I was thinking maybe I could find a name, like one of his past titles was Kunikazushi, and I was thinking maybe I could find a name that started with K and was kind of long like that to kind of reference it, but like it wouldn't be the same thing. I ended up searching K, and I think S's, and I can't remember what letters I went through, but I think T also. But I ended up just going with Arashi, because I feel like that was the one. It had a meaning I liked, or I wanted, and I also liked how it sounded. Now, like I said, I was kind of at first thinking it didn't really fit him too well, but after a little while I thought, you know, it does quite fit him. It's cute, a cute name, and yeah, but I tell you, by the time when I found that name, the patch was, I think, released already. I hadn't done the story quest yet though, because the patch update had just happened, and I ended up doing event stuff first, and then I ended up going to the story quest. And while I was still doing that story quest, I was still looking for names just to be safe. I'm like, am I sure this is the name I want to give him? Am I sure? I'm like, I can only name him once. Of course, it actually gives you a ticket where if you could rename him, but you only have like 2 chances really when you first name him, and then if you didn't like the name, you could rename him again, but that's it. You can't change it after that. Which is another thing that freaked me out, because I had to make sure this name was perfect, or really the one I wanted, because I'm not gonna be able to change it, right? But yeah, so even during the story, I was still thinking, am I sure? And finally, as I was nearing the end, I'm like, you know what, screw it, we're just sticking with this meat. You have to stick with it, okay? You're never gonna decide if you keep looking. So I'm like, we're just going with Arashi, and that's it. And so, after I finished the interlude quest and gave him his name and stuff, I kind of realized that my comic having Nahida giving him the name wasn't gonna make much sense. And so that's why I kind of wanted to do the story first before I drew the comic. I had sketched it out and planned it out with Nahida instead of Traveler, but I wanted to do the quest just to make sure, you know, I didn't like super contradict something, and that's kind of what was happening. So I'm like, you know what, we're gonna just replace Nahida with a Traveler, and instead I had it set up where Nahida was like surprising the Wanderer with the gift of a name. Like, he didn't know he was getting a new name. She was just called him over and said, I have a surprise for you, or a gift for you, and that is a new name. But that's not really how it went down. So I ended up saying, well, maybe instead the Wanderer knows he's getting a new name, and Traveler just called him out here to give him the new name. Now in the actual interlude quest, it's like, hey Wanderer, not Wanderer. Hey Traveler, how about you just pick the name, and you give him a name, and it's done. But I wanted the comic to be like, if at that point where they're like, how about you pick the name Traveler, that Traveler ends up thinking, okay, I need some time to think on this because I want to make sure it's the right name or a good name, and takes like, you know, a couple days to go scour the library for the perfect name, like something like I would have done. And yeah, now I chose Lumine for this because Lumine is the Traveler I have. It could just as easily be Aether, but I kind of default to Lumine when I do these type of comics because that's the Traveler I have. But like I said, it could just as easily be Aether. Maybe next time I do a comic like this, I will do Aether just to be different. And yeah, but anyway, that was kind of like the idea for the beginning of this comic. Now, Traveler had spent some time finding a name for like maybe a couple of days, which is why Wanderer's like, you know, it took you long enough. And she spent a couple of days finding a name, and then she sent for him to meet her here, and she was going to tell him the name, and then she tells him why she chose the name, which was basically the comic. And then I wanted, you know, towards the end, Wanderer's just, he's touched that this Traveler would care so much about him to find that type of name, you know, to put so much thought into the meaning of the name, just so he would remember that his past is behind him and that he's a new person. And it's almost like kind of Traveler's way of saying I forgive you kind of thing. I don't know how to explain it, but you know what I mean. I'm so bad with words. Anyway, so anyway, that was like how I end up like writing the comic. I end up planning it out like that instead of with Nahida like I had originally planned. Now, like I said earlier in the video though, I was looking for a name that meant like either like new person or new heart or freedom, or to be free. Now, if I chose the meaning of freedom instead, like a name with the meaning of freedom, the dialogue probably wouldn't be much different in this comic, but it would have been like similar. But like my meaning behind it probably more like I want you to remember, like you're like Traveler would be telling Wanderer, like you've been through so much in your past and you've been betrayed by all these people, and it's like, or felt betrayed by all these people, and it's like you felt like you needed to become something like powerful for people to realize your worth, or so that you won't get hurt again. And it's like, I want you to remember now that you are free to be just you. And so that's why I chose the name with the meaning, you know, of freedom or something, so that you remember that no matter where you go, you're free to just be you. You don't have to live up to anyone's standards or try to make people realize that you're worth like recognizing and stuff like that. I mean, it probably would have been something like that instead if I had chose a name with the meaning of to be free or made free or freedom. Not to say that Traveler or even Nahida could have had that kind of conversation with him anyway, but you know, that's probably how the dialogue would have shifted more in that direction if I had chosen that name. Like, I just wanted to throw that in there. And yeah. Anyways, I think that is all. I think I have finished rambling. I hope I wasn't too confusing or all over the place, but yeah. So again, if you enjoyed this video and enjoyed my ramble behind the scenes kind of thing, please do give this video a like and subscribe if you haven't already. And I try to upload every Friday, but it kind of turns out to being more like every other Friday, but I upload as often as I can. I usually upload speed paints, but lately I kind of been doing comics because I've been having fun with them, but I do usually upload speed paints. And yeah, so thank you for watching again, and I will see you guys next time. Bye!